What is up, guys? It's Dan the Man, and today I'm back with another tournament held here at Chess Zone, one of the monthly action tournaments, and recording for the month of August here. And this is the first round recap, and I'm paired against someone I don't really know that well, named Arturo Imberno, who is only 1700, but do not be deceived by that rating because he, in fact, is actually a coach for kid chess and probably for FIDE as well. And he, although he doesn't play in FIDE tournaments, he once had a rating of 2100 in FIDE. So the 1700 is going to be a very misleading number. So he's likely very underrated for 1700. And yeah, just don't be deceived by that. And I'll show you how he put up a lot of resistance in this game and showed that he is not his rating and should be, in fact, matching his FIDE rating or something close to that. And also, I realized that I am, in fact, procrastinating on recording this. It is, after all, August 7th, and the tournament was a few days ago. So, yeah, recording this only now, so I'll post that and the other recaps soon whenever I get around to it. But yeah, let's just jump straight in here. A reminder, it's 60 plus 5. So Arturo starts with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and Arturo goes into the Ruy Lopez with bishop to b5. And I play a6, something I've transitioned into more recently. He slid back. I play b5 to attack the bishop again. Bishop b3, knight f6, castles, and there are a lot of lines that I can play here, but one of the lines I had prepared in this line, where he castled, is by playing bishop c5. And here I'm allowing him to play the center fork trick with knight takes e5. But I studied this with the engine enough to conclude that even though white can get away with a center fork trick, it's still basically even for both players, and white does not really get any merit out of the position, doesn't really get any sort of advantage, and it's practically anybody's game. So the line goes as knight takes e5. Obviously, Arturo plays d4, the whole point, and the point is to sack back. And even though it looks like I activated his queen, the engine says d6 is fine for black because, yeah, you support the knight on e5 with the pawn. You're ready to kick the queen away with c5. And actually, you're threatening to play c5 for that matter, because c5 would hit the queen, and then I would play c4 to trap his bishop on b3. So if he does a normal-looking move like knight c3 here, he's already losing because I would play c5 and then c4 and his bishop's trapped. So just letting you guys know that black has enough compensation for that. So he played c3. That way the bishop has room to escape if I were to play c5 now. And I'm blitzing this out. We each have about 58 minutes here. So after c3, I just castle. Pretty simple move here. He plays the move bishop to g5. I kick away the bishop with h6, and he retains the pin with bishop to h4. And I decide to fianchetto on b7 with my bishop, looking to attack e4 and put pressure on his center. And at the right moment, play c5 to attack the centralized queen. So here, Arturo played f3, just over-protecting the pawn. There really wasn't any need for that, but, you know, I get it, and it's not a bad move. Here I played queen e7. I'm not playing c5 right away because I don't want my d6 pawn to be a bit weak and not being supported by the c pawn. And there's no way white can prevent me from playing c5, so I'm essentially just improving other aspects of my position first before deciding to play c5. And that's what Arturo does. He plays knight d2, not choosing to get out of dodge of c5, because it really isn't scary if I play it. So he played knight d2, and I in fact do go c5, and the queen retreated to e3. He had 40 minutes here, and I'm not a fan of the pin on the knight. I can't really move my queen anywhere without him taking the knight and doubling pawns. So I'm like, let's go knight g6, attack his bishop, and he either will take on f6 or he'll retreat, in which case the pin has been relinquished. And after knight g6, I had 43 minutes here, pretty even on time. Arturo, in fact, did retreat the bishop to f2, and then I just play a pretty simple developing move, rook f to e8, just centralizing the rook and preparing to maybe bring the other one. And that's what Arturo does. He plays rook on f to e1, and I could have played rook on a to d8. Let's actually take a look at that. Rook on a to d8 is a perfectly fine move, but I don't see an urgency to do it, so I play the move a5 here, preparing to go a4 and kick the bishop back. And I actually thought he would go a4 himself here, but he instead plays this, he first plays rook on a to d1, and then I play a4. The bishop has only one square to go to with c2, and here, after bishop c2, I play the move. This is a very positional game, as you guys can see. There's not going to be any tactics here, and it's all about where our pieces should be located best to, fight for the center and occupy nice squares on the board. So this is a very positional game. No sort of attack or king hunt or tactics or anything. So I just go ahead and play queen e6. That way I attack his a-pawn, and it forces bishop back to b1, where it's kind of passive, in my opinion. So after bishop b1, one of my ideas is to play the move d5 here. But if I were to play d5 now, my c5 pawn falls, and I don't want that. So I don't want him to just take my pawn for free. So let me just get rid of that here. Okay. So the reason is I play the move rook on a to c8. That way, I'm preparing d5, and my rook is defending the c5 pawn, so it's not going to be hanging. So that's my plan. Arturo plays the move knight f1 here. And I could have played the move d5. In fact, that's what the engine suggested. But after, let's say I take... This is very weird because I can't really, take his trade queens because, I'd be down a pawn for no reason. And if I were to, let's say, take like this, then it starts getting tactical. Arturo can... both of our queens are hanging with queen takes c5. And at the end of the day, the engine suggests we trade queens. And then after something like this... you guys can see that Arturo still has an extra pawn, so I didn't really feel that was comfortable, so queen b6 is what the engine suggests. And what I realized here is that you're attacking white's queen, and once the queen saves herself, you would take on d5, and that is the way you would recover the pawn. But I didn't really see that. I played knight e5 because I was wanting to go to c4 and, attack the queen. And here, after Arturo played the move knight g3, very positional game, as I have said. He's trying to go to f5 and have it be on a nice outpost. He had 24 minutes, and I played the move knight c4, my whole idea, and I also had 24 minutes. And he played queen c1, and although it may look weird that his queen, bishop, and the two rooks are, all in the back, he's way better here because he just has more pressure on my pawns in my center than I do on him. And especially with that knight coming to f5, my d-pawn being a bit weak, and me not really having any real targets. This is why Arturo is really better, much better here in this position. So my idea was to go b4. I'm trying to, expand on the queen side. And it would be great for him to take because I would open my rook to attack the c-file. But here Arturo plays a move that I have to give him a lot of credit for this because I totally missed it. And it's not a very intuitive move at all. It's definitely not one that you check on your radar for blunders or good moves. He played this move e5. And e5 is a very good move because although it looks like he's just sacrificing a pawn, what he's doing is that he's playing a clearance move, threatening my knight on f6, and also after I would take on d5, on e5, I didn't really have any better option. The whole point of him playing e5 was to open this bishop f5 move, and what's happening is that he's going to end up winning an exchange by winning the rook on c8, which, yeah, that was a very advanced move to sack a pawn like that. And I'm a bit stressed here because, he's not 2100 USCF, he's 2100 FIDE, and this is his provisional temporary USCF rating, but that doesn't matter. He's still going to, absorb a lot of rating for me if I don't get a good result in this game. And I don't really want that, even though he's underrated. We're factoring in his USCF rating here. So after bishop f5, I'm like, oh man, where do I move my queen? He's going to pick up the rook, and I might lose the first game. What's happening? So I play queen c6, maybe looking at some g2 checkmates, but not really. He just goes ahead and collects the rook. I take with the queen, and then he starts to liquidate. He takes the pawn. He plays b3, forcing a trade because, my knight has to move, and then he could trade queens on c8. So I first trade with him, and then I play knight a5, attacking his b-pawn. He, in fact, does trade queens, and then he plays the move bishop to c5, which is attacking my b4 pawn. And here I play knight takes b3, bishop takes b4, in which case he had 17 minutes. And he's +3. He's way better in this endgame, although it's not super clear how to win because he only has 3 pawns left. I have an extra pawn, and all the pawns are sort of on the same side of the board. He doesn't have any passers. So although white is much better here, the winning plan isn't concrete, and you have to think about how to, convert this as white. So I play the move knight d4, and I centralize the knight with 15 minutes. And he played the move bishop to d6, very logical move in my opinion, just attacking the e5 pawn twice. And that essentially forces me to go knight c6 to defend that way, because otherwise I would be losing another pawn. He plays knight e4, which at first glance looks like a really good move because, he's offering more trades. Why wouldn't you offer trades when you're ahead in material? But the thing is that he's liquidating a bit too much. I don't really know if that makes sense because it's a principle to simplify as much as you can, especially in these types of positions. But the engine preferred keeping more pieces on the board rather than simplifying too much. And that goes down because he only has 3 pawns and everything's sort of on the same side of the board. And yeah, the engine disliked it. The engine preferred to go rook c1 to attack my knight on c6, defending the pawn. And that would have to go something passive like bishop b7. And then in which case white can, use the knight to go to f5 instead of offering to trade it off. So after knight e4, I see no better option than to just trade. But then after rook takes, I play this move f6, and I realize now that all of my position is pretty solid. How is he ever going to win any of my pawns? They're all defending each other. The knight can hop to d4, the bishop can get out, and the exchange really isn't felt the advantage, if that makes sense. So after f6, we're both getting well on time. He played the move h4 to try to create some sort of progress. I would go king f7, rook c4, knight d4. He plays check. I go back to g8. He goes bishop c5. And he actually walks into a fork here, kind of. I'm hitting the rook and the bishop, and I see his point. I'm like, okay, I'm not winning material because he plays the move rook e7. Although if he were to play rook c6 here, now things start getting interesting, because after bishop to b7, he has no way to defend this bishop anymore. So he can actually play this counterattacking move rook b6, and although it looks like I have 2 minor pieces for the rook, he can start, bullying my pieces with rook c1, and now the knight is hanging, and if it moves, it would stop defending the bishop. And then the engine gets really crazy. It can assess to play the move rook e6, but then, white can play rook b5, and then things start getting wild. So, yeah, we didn't enter that line. He just went rook e7 here, and after that, we just trade, and then I go king f7 again. He goes bishop to a3, I go knight d4, and here after knight d4, he goes king f2, and I play bishop e6, just very solid move. He goes bishop b2 to attack the knight again. I go knight f5. He goes h5. I go knight e7. I'm not really trying to do anything. I realize this is pretty much a fortress, and I don't really see a way for Arturo to break through. But he's stubborn. He's trying to, prove his advantage because he is, after all, up in exchange for the cost of a pawn. And if I were white, I would try to play on too, so no fault there. So rook a1, I go knight d5. He plays rook a7 check. I go king g8, and here at this point we're probably at about 5-6 minutes, so time is getting tough. In here he plays bishop a3, trying to get onto a more active diagonal. And around here he I offered him a draw, but he declined it because he's trying to press for a win because he is, after all, up material. But I'm trying to prove that I can hold this position because I realize it's pretty much a fortress. So after knight f4, I'm forcing him to go g4 to keep his pawn defended. I go bishop f7. Again, my goal is to not do anything. My goal is to sort of loiter and let him try to make progress and wait for him to realize that he can't really do anything and agree to splitting the point here. So after bishop to f7, he goes check. I go to h7. He goes rook f8. He's trying to invade somehow. But I just go bishop d5, and everything is very solid. Nothing in my camp is undefended, and I don't see a way for white to really make any progress, but Arturo is adamant about trying to push for a win. So he goes rook d8. But no problem, I just moved my bishop somewhere, and we each had 4 minutes here. He plays rook b8, looking to go to b7 to put pressure on the 7th rank. So I just stopped that with bishop d5, but he plays rook b5, bishop c6. Here he goes rook a5, trying to invade on a7. I play check, king goes to g3, and then I play knight g5 to attack his f-pawn. He goes bishop f8, and here's a moment where you have to think about what your opponent wants rather than what you want. White is wanting to go rook a7, so it wouldn't be wise here to to play bishop takes f3. Although it looks like the pawn is free for grabs, the thing is that by neglecting what your opponent wants, you let Arturo play rook a7, and who's defending g7? If you try the move knight e6, then he can play bishop takes g7 anyway. And because your knight has left defending the bishop, after you take back, he plays king takes f3. And although it's still +1 for him, this is way worse for me because the king can invade on e4. My knight is pinned, and this is just not what you want. Same thing with knight takes f3. If you're trying to go win the game, you would blunder into this. So it's opponent to acknowledge what your opponent wants. So by knowing that, I play the move king g8. That way I hit his bishop, so he can't play rook a7. So he goes bishop d6. Only now do I take because rook a7 isn't really as scary anymore. And after bishop to a3, I offer him a draw, or actually he offers me a draw, and I agree, and we end up splitting the point for the first round of the tournament. And if we take a look at the accuracy here, it was very steady. We each had an accuracy of around 94, him having a 94.3, and me having 93.8. So a very good game from both of us. I kind of got lucky that he couldn't, poke around for to win that positional game, and his mistake, natural-looking move of playing knight e4 to trade knights, is what cost him the advantage. But it's not really apparent how that was a massive blunder. He was just following principles of simplifying, but we were lucky. We salvaged the half point, and he definitely proved that he is not 1700 USCF, and in fact a very formidable opponent. So yeah, nice game here, nonetheless, and stay tuned for the next recaps I'll post soon. And yeah, have a great rest of your day or night. Bye.